Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of ZB's Horsepower Talk. As always, I'm your host, ZB, Zack Brown, and joining with me right now, we're starting it off a new way, going into Season 2. The host of what you know as Crew Chief Corner, Jeff Brown, is going to be joining me on every full episode. So, welcome in, Dad. We got a big week ahead of us.
Yeah, a lot of good racing, getting down to the end. It's we're down to the nitty-gritty now. It's do or die time for NASCAR and World of Outlaws, actually.
Yep, Outlaws will go next week. We'll touch on that on the next episode. But let's go over what we just saw with the World of Outlaws that kicked it off last week. The last two races at Devil's Bowl, and they did not disappoint. We had a photo finish Saturday. Great racing on that Friday. You can't ask for a better way to send a racetrack out.
Yeah, it's a shame. Devil's Bowl is a nice track. The sprint cars put on a good show there all the time. It's a racy track. If you've seen the replays, you know, it was you didn't know who was going, especially the second night, you didn't know who was going to win. Had point leader Brad Sweet get into some trouble, got upside down. Crew worked their ass off, got the car put back together enough to get back out on the track, and he ended up with a top 10 finish, which could have been a point title, huge deal going into next week. But he, as of right now, I think he says he's got a 50-point cushion going into the last 3 races next week in Charlotte.
Yeah, and that's huge, but you can see how quickly the things can turn, like we saw with the Devil's Bowl. And if you didn't have such a good crew like Brad Sweet had, they'd have been screwed. They would have been out of the race, and David Gravel probably very well could have taken the points lead with getting that win and that photo finish. And that was a hell of a race to finish off. I mean, there's been a few photo finishes this year, and that was amazing to see, that last lap pass. Friday was a good race, but, I mean, Saturday was just incredible to see.
The Gravel kept hitting that top, and finally in the last corner, he managed to get him pinned down on the inside behind a lap car and beat by, I don't know.
I think they said it was like 13 1,000ths or something like that. It was. I wonder if they got it. Yeah, I wonder if they got it right here with the 15 1,000ths. Okay, I knew it was something like that. Yeah, James McFadden tried to go back-to-back on the big races at Devil's Bowl, but I think he messed up hitting the bottom there on 3 and 4. He should have just taken the top line away. I think he would have probably been safe to win.
I agree, but you know, you're out in front and you're dealing with those lap cars. You don't really know. I'm going to assume he knew somebody was out there on the outside, and I don't know. I would think if you know they were gaining on you, you would probably try to go take their line, especially that last corner. But then again, you're leading last corner. You know you're safe at the bottom. You know, nobody's going to probably, nobody's going to get under and slide you. But he Gravel balls her in there and managed to get just enough run to beat to the flag.
Yeah. Yeah, the big testament to the Outlaws on putting that show and just setting it off the right way. Insane crowd. It was so packed. It was awesome to see. Yeah, like you were saying, it's a shame they're not going to go back there, but money talks, and everybody's got a price.
Yeah, unfortunately, the land is just worth so much money, especially around that's just outside the Dallas area.
Well, let's stay in the dirt racing world right now and talk about the news. It looks like it is now official that Tony Stewart has sold the All-Star Circuit of Champions to the High Limit. Now, seeing that, what do you see going forward for High Limit and how they're going to kind of go about this? Have you seen anything, heard anything? What kind of rumors you seeing with how they want to go about going forward?
Well, I haven't really seen anything. I mean, there's a little bit of speculation on my part, and I think it's a good deal. I think Tony, the last couple of years, has kind of let the All-Stars sort of slide out. He really wasn't. He's involved. He got married now. Things change.
He's a little busy with the drags and.
He got married. He said he wants. Would like to have kids. So he's not getting any younger. His wife's still pretty young, but he wants to have kids, and sort of kind of looks like maybe he wants to lose some of the racing assets. So I can't think of anybody better to buy the series rather than Larson and Brad Sweet. So I think that's a good deal. I think they will keep All-Star tradition. I'm kind of hoping that, All-Stars are kind of a Midwest to Eastern touring series. I don't want to compare it to like the Xfinity series, but it seems like you kind of get the up-and-coming guys go to the All-Star circuit first and then go to the Outlaw series. I'm hoping they can have, I don't know how their pay structure or any of that kind of stuff works if it's like Outlaws, but I'm hoping they can get a few more good full-time racers. Because right now, we had a 2-horse race. It's just, occasionally you get an invader down there who could show up and change some of that around, but outside of Tyler Courtney and Zeb Wise running full time, most of the other cars weren't near as competitive. So hopefully there's a pay structure. Maybe they can get a few more real good cars running full time throughout the year.
Yeah, and that's what I've been kind of thinking. Like, if Larson's buying this, he's always been the one saying, "Hey, these have to be bigger purses. That there's not going to be anybody that wants to come out to these races to win $5,000, $6,000. It's just not worth it with all the cost of how it to go into it." So,
not even talking about race car costs.
Yeah.
Cost of your rig and your crew to get there.
Yeah, it's insane. So yeah, I'm interested to see if they will still have a separate All-Stars and high limit, or everything's going to go considered All-Star Circuit champions, or that's just dead and it's all high limit. No details have been said yet.
I didn't even think about it if it's going to be.
Yeah, and
I know Larson wanted some big paying midweek shows, probably mainly because that's easier for him to run. But so yeah, that's going to be quite interesting. I'd like to know that myself, if it's going to be if they're still going to have All Stars High Limit Series for the midweek, and then All Stars Circuit of Champions. Is it going to be the same point? Fund.
Well, one thing's for sure, it's going to be on Flow, because both of them were on Flow, and Larson's sponsored by Flow, so that's a given. That's going to be on there. But I'd love somehow if they could start branching off into major networks to really send out to everybody what dirt racing's all about, because not a lot of people know things about sprint cars. If Lars could somehow figure out to get, like, I don't know, ESPN, and you can do Thursday Night Thunder like the SRX is doing, that would be amazing.
Yeah, the SRX, the problem we talk about SRX just being that it's on so late, which probably doesn't affect most people, mostly affects me because I gotta get up so early in the morning. But if you can get a major network, it used to be sprint cars on Thursday Night Thunder. They used to show everything from like IRP on a weekly basis. ESPN and their auto racing has really been bad. I think if they were smart, they would try to do everything they can to get a good racing series back in, and that would have
been. And that's just me throwing out ideas. I don't know if it would happen or not, but I think it'd be a great opportunity for something. NASCAR still should try to get ESPN and have their streaming platforms, and you could have people that watch it on their phones on ESPN Plus. People who have Hulu, that's automatic with ESPN Plus, so you get the login right there, and it's too easy, it's too convenient. NASCAR made that announcement with the Xfinity Series starting in 2 years that they're going to the CW. Nobody knows what the hell the CW is, so I don't really understand that, but I guess whatever network wants to pay. But I guess we're kind of transitioning into the NASCAR talk, so I guess a little bit off of our soapbox, so let's kind of talk about the quick recap of the 3 races that happened at Homestead. I always like to start off, obviously, with the Cup Series, the big race, one everybody is invested in, that cares about, the most viewership. Larson said, fuck the pit road barrels. So it was just a mistake on him, and he even said, yeah, I probably screwed up. I kind of misjudged that he was going to slow down that much. And he was just being a little over-aggressive. He could have just went on normal. Blaney might have slowed down a little bit more than he thought. But at the end of the day, he still should know better being a champion. Hopefully he can learn that, and that's one thing he could take to Phoenix and not be overly aggressive like that. He had the fastest car all day.
That's one of Larson's slight problems problems where, especially when he does have the fastest car like that, he kind of got moved to the back a little bit there towards the end. And, the easiest place to pass somebody is on pit road. So he was doing everything he can to pass Blaney coming in the pit road. And, he just absolutely screwed up. I don't know if he would have made pit road speed because he was coming in 20 mile an hour faster than Blaney.
Yeah, and he was trying to say he was going to make it on pit road speed. I don't know. It'd have been close. But he had the fastest car again if he was just patient. And Blaney arguably had the second fastest car. And I think that damage at the end really hurt him. But Blaney had a very solid run. Nobody really expected. He is in the Final Four as of right now. Really, it's obviously, if anybody saw the race, Christopher Bell took advantage of all this that happened and ended up driving away at the finish and getting a big win. I think at the beginning of the year, not my most recent prediction, but at the beginning of the year, I did have Christopher Bell going back to the Final Four. So let's refer to past Zach as the expert there. And, I don't think it was what everybody picked, but he has as good a shot as anybody going into Phoenix. He's just a well-rounded, talented race car driver, just like Larson.
Yeah, for sure.
And
Christopher Bell was one that was just sort of the opposite. His car was not very good most of the day.
Mm-hmm.
They worked on it, played some strategy, got him up front, and then when it counted, he
came alive.
Into it and stuck it up on the wall, and
yep.
There wasn't nobody catching him there at the end.
Yeah, and the two people that had the worst luck of the day were Truex and Denny Hamlin. So they're on the outside looking in, going to Martinsville, which is arguably both of their best tracks, the best track. So we'll talk about Martinsville here in a second, but there's two spots left, and right now Byron, he's pretty much safe. Byron's probably going to make it unless he gets wrecked in Martinsville, but Hendrick is notorious for bringing very fast cars to Martinsville. If Byron just basically doesn't wreck and finishes, I think top 20 will lock him in, and it all comes down to if can Blaney have enough spots ahead of Truex and Hamlin, and then Chris Buescher, he has to win. He has to get a win. There's no question about that. Kind of sucks for him, but I think he's exceeded everybody's expectations, anyways. So,
amazing what Brad Kay has done to the Roush organization. I mean, it's hard to imagine that Roush, was once, he was up there with Hendrick and Joe Gibbs. I mean, that was the top three. And now how far he fell and how bad those cars were. And
he just refused to keep up with modern times. He was kind of stuck in his own ways, and it obviously was not working because everybody's like, Chris Buescher sucks as a NASCAR driver. He cannot race. Well, it clearly was the worst equipment ever because Brad Kay, his first year, was terrible in that equipment, and he's a great driver. And
how good of a driver Chris Buescher is.
Yep, and it's showing it.
Champions say, hey, he's a good driver. He just needs better equipment.
Yeah. So let's talk about the race that happened before it, the Xfinity race, and then obviously we end with the truck race to round it off. But how about Sam Mayer? And asshole, you got it right. And you just predicted your Final Four for Xfinity pretty much is intact, and mine's kind of screwed up. But I mean, good for Sam Mayer. First win on an oval, fourth win of the year, and obviously his first time in the Final Four. And he's only 20 years old. He's only going to get better.
Yeah, it's amazing. He won the road courses, and how much that improved his confidence. That hey, you know what, I can do this. I have a shot at winning, and he kept his car under him the whole time. And then when it counted, He put her up there and ran it as hard as that thing was possible to go, and he held on for the win. And good for Sam. Like I said, he's only 20 years old, so his ceiling is way up there. So that's awesome for him, and it's good to see juniors cars. Last few weeks they've definitely had an improvement. Beginning of the year they were really struggling for speed, and it sort of seems like. On the mile and a half, so they definitely have picked up a lot of speed.
Well, Sam Mayer's the only one locked in. John Hunter's pretty much locked in as well. He's 44 points ahead of the cut. Again, that's kind of the same situation William Byron's in. As long as you don't wreck and finish dead last in Martinsville, you're likely going to make it the Final Four. Everybody knew that John Hunter's going to be there at the end. This is where it gets tight because Cole Custer and Austin Hill are both tied. They're only 3 points ahead of the cut line. And you've got Allgaier going into Martinsville, very capable of winning that, running up front. But then it comes down to the last three, and they have to win. It's Sammy Smith, Chandler Smith, and Sheldon Creed. So everybody, you saw what Ross Chastain was willing to do last year. They had to make a rule about it. You can't do it this year. So if you're desperate for a win, yeah, you're going to be going to that. Again, we'll talk about Martinsville in a little bit, but yeah, it's tight and it's good. It's great for NASCAR, and it's definitely going to set up for an exciting finale at Phoenix with all three series. And we are going to finish off with the Truck Series. They had their final race at Homestead with Carson Hocevar winning. He's come on fire this year.
Somebody picked him this week too. I forget who it was. I think it was me.
Yeah. Well. So the Final Four is set in the Truck Series. You got Corey Heim, Carson Hocevar, Ben Rhodes, and Grant Enfinger. I don't remember who I had, but I guarantee it wasn't any of those four except probably Corey Heim and Hocevar probably. Nothing to preview, but just Hocevar having another great race in the truck race. Wasn't able to catch a whole lot of it, but I think it's setting up for. I think the Phoenix race will be really good. I think for the trucks there will be a lot of crashes. You saw that with the ARCA series earlier this year, and I think it's going to be evident in this one as well. But I mean, it's going to be interesting for sure. I'm looking forward to it. We'll dive into the championship next week on probably a fun conversation next week going into that. But the big news breaking, just today it was announced that the ARCA champion, Jesse Love, who won pretty much every race in the ARCA series, he's going to RCR to race, to take over the car for Sheldon Creed next year in the Xfinity series. A lot of people were like, why would you jump from ARCA to truck, or not jump from ARCA to truck and just go right to Xfinity? I think it's a good move. I think the cars are more similar that way than they are going to the truck series. It kind of holds him back. If he goes to the truck series, I think it's a great move by RCR, and I think this is another young talent that's going to impress.
And now we'll see, which is cool. Like I said, I didn't see that before, so that's cool news. And yeah, he was, by far the best driver car, in the ARCA series. It wasn't even close. But now we will see. Is he that good? Was the car that good? Was it a little bit of both?
Yeah.
I'm going to say probably a little bit of both.
Well, he was given Gibbs equipment. Yeah, he was given Gibbs equipment in the ARCA series, and some people have to build their own stuff. There's a lot more, let's just say, profitable teams in the Xfinity series than there are in ARCA. You're not going to have single car teams working out of the back, their garage in the backyard. That's just not how it goes. But he's going to go into a good car. Sheldon Creed's shown that it's a fast car. So, yeah, I'm excited to see what he can do. I think it's another young talent that, surprisingly, Junior didn't pick him up the way he's able to pick up the young talent.
That's smart on Richard Childress to snag.
Yeah.
You don't see him grabbing those young, undeveloped guys anymore.
Yeah.
You know what? We got Kyle Busch there. Who's a better teacher, especially in Xfinity, than Kyle Busch would be as a mentor?
Exactly.
A young driver like that. So
Yep. I think that's.
All it tells you to do, you just do.
Yeah, I think Jesse's only 18 years old. I think so. He's got a bright future ahead of him, and we'll see what he can do if he does well enough. Shoot, these Cup teams, they're pretty desperate to get drivers lately, so they'll put anybody in them at this rate. I think that does it for the recap and everything. Let's look at Martinsville. We'll look ahead then at the drag racing at Las Vegas. So Martinsville, we've talked about it earlier this year. We've been there. We've also had races canceled there that we were going to go to. But
I was actually looking for a picture. There was a picture
of the snow. Yep. So no snow this weekend. It'll be it's a mid-afternoon race for both races. They're not under the lights, which I kind of wish they were, but it'd be a little chilly. Which would kind of, it would throw a little monkey wrench and everything. That'd be kind of cool. But Martinsville, the paperclip comes down to this to get into the championship.
Yeah. Maybe Daytona might be more stressful, and last race into the championship than this, but not by much. I mean, this one. Talk about the chances of getting into a crash are very high here, especially when you got the must-win guys. I mean, you might as well put a plow in the front of them. If they're faster than you are, and it gets down, we get past halfway, you are going to get moved. It's as simple as that. They have no choice but to go.
Yep. So we saw in the Cup Series last year what people are willing to do to take a chance to win it. They had to come up with the Ross Chastain move. The Hail Melon is what they've called it. And, people aren't going to be afraid to crash each other, and people will bitch and moan because tensions are going to run high. But the one big difference between the Xfinity and the Cup race is the Xfinity, you're going to have to go. There's only 250 laps, and that goes by so fast at Martinsville. It's 500 laps for the Cup Series, so you can be a little more patient. You can screw up in the beginning. There's no room for error in the Xfinity race on Saturday.
No, and you got to go, and then, here's the problem. Like I said, you're going to have to move some people out of the way because you're not going to pass. You're not going to go on the outside of somebody unless you're really, really fast and pass them. So you have to get under them, and you're going to have to get them loose, either going into the corner up on track or move them up coming off and then get under them going into the next corner. And you need to do it. You need to do it where they're not pissed off. We're going to take you, if you're a championship contender, and take you out during the championship race at Phoenix.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a fine line to pass somebody and not pass somebody and piss them off.
And I'm interested to see how Sam Mayer, like we're saying, he's very young, how he handles Martinsville because he's locked in, how aggressive he's willing to be, or if he's willing to kind of just, hey, if they're faster than me, just let them go. We'll move on to Phoenix. That's what I'm interested to see it. It should be really, really tension's going to run high. There's probably going to be a few fights afterwards.
This could be a huge learning experience for Sam Mayer. Now that he's locked in, maybe now's a good time to try something. Learn to drive a different line, learn how to race it. Because it really doesn't matter if he wins this race or not. But maybe learn how to race and to do it right. Learn how to race respectful and race with the guys to where it's you're racing hard and battling, but you're also clean and having fun at it, and your respect level can go way up going into the championship week, next week.
Yeah, so when we've talked about how close it is with the points, John Hunter pretty much locked in. I'm interested to see it. These guys, it's gonna get crazy. There's gonna be some strategy calls. There's going to be, like I said, I'd be surprised if there's not a fight. But let's preview. Well, I guess let's give our pick for the Xfinity race, and which is weird because the Xfinity race is a certain sponsor, then the Cup race is an Xfinity sponsor, so it's kind of confusing this weekend. But the Xfinity race on Saturday at Martinsville, 3 spots remain. Really, 2 spots remain. Are you going with somebody outside looking in, or are you kind of going with somebody to go in on points?
This guy, I don't think he's going to have to win to get in. He is below the cut line right now. I got Justin Allgaier winning this. We talked about he's a good racer, veteran, smart. Like I said, I don't think he has to win. I think a solid top 5 probably gets him in, but I think at the end, junior cars have been pretty good. On the short track, his teammate's one of the best short track racers in Josh Berry, even though he hasn't done shit for me when I picked him this year. So I'll go with Allgaier this week.
Yeah, that's the one bad pick you've had this year. But I'm going with a guy that doesn't have to win, but he's definitely got to beat Justin Allgaier. He had wins early this year. he kind of been relying on those wins and bonus points to get through the playoffs. It's do or die right now. I'm going with Rich Childress car of Austin Hill. And we're looking at Sunday, the Cup race. And again, there's realistically 2 spots left unless something happens to William Byron. Ryan Blaney's just above the cut line. And yeah, that's it. There's 2 locked in. So Martin Truex Jr., he's known for Martinsville, kind of a pun intended. And Denny Hamlin, he's from Virginia, has run very well. Martinsville's got wins there. And Chris Buescher hasn't had the best luck at Martinsville, but anything can happen is what we know at Martin. Yeah, anything can happen as we know with Martinsville, and we all know it. It's almost like Daytona. It's a big crapshoot. I'm thinking Sunday you're going to have to take care of the brakes. It's 500 laps. You want to be.
With these, the new car with the 18-inch wheels over the 15, they have so much bigger brakes.
Yeah.
It's not as big of an issue as it used to be.
Yeah, you want to be conservatively aggressive, I guess, for this race. And I will say the qualifying is going to matter.
Pit stall selection is huge at Martinsville.
Yep, and I mean Reddick's in the mix too. He's not known for the best short track racer ever, but like I said, anybody can win anywhere at this point, especially when you have pit strategy and you're going to see. I think you'll see some interesting strategy for qualifying and different setups to get them that little bit of an edge that they're going to need to start up front. So let's lock in our last 2 picks for the Final Four. Who wins at Martinsville, and I guess who moves on too. I'm confident saying William Byron's going to move on, but let's go with that last person who could lock in.
Very confident William Byron moves on. So confident in the fact that
You're picking him.
Go against the 24 car at Martinsville.
Now you've said that I think before, and I think Larson won the last Martinsville race.
That's what it takes for Larson to win it. I'm cool with that.
I'm.
But I think the top 4 right now are going to make it to the championship.
You think Blaney's going to make it?
I think Blaney's going to make it. I think he's going to run just well enough at Martinsville.
Without another driver winning, he has to just finish at best, I guess, worst 11th, I guess, or something. I don't know how all the points work behind that, but he's going to have to get some stage points to be more confident. That'd be a huge thing for Blaney, though, to make the Final Four.
I think you're going to see Penske put all the resources that they have.
Yep.
Simulator time and the whole deal just to get him to where he's at.
Well, I'm going to throw in my pick. Martinsville, it's in his name. I'm going to have him locking in Martin Truex Jr. to make the Final Four and kind of continue that, not Cinderella season, but a big comeback season for him after that hard year that he had last year. So that does it for our picks for NASCAR. Okay. I was looking at Denny too, so we'll see. But let's get ready to dive into drag racing. But real quick, I'm gonna cut to the quick shout out to one of our partners and everything, and we will get back with our drag racing picks for Las Vegas. Big shout out to our partner W Energy. Great stuff there. Make sure you go check them out. W.GG. They've got great stuff. They got all sorts of energy supplements. They've got hydration supplements, all natural flavors, great variety as well. If you need something to pick up your day without the crash, and it's got coffee plant extract, go check them out, W.GG. Use my promo code ZBHP. Get 10% off your order. You won't regret it. W Energy, be better. Back to the show. All right, everybody, we are back, and we now have a little drag racing girl with us, so she's going to help us out with previewing the race at Las Vegas. Drags are at the Strip. 2 races remain, and they're it's close, especially Top Fuel. It's close, and this one here is going to help us preview it and figure out who we should look at. So, talk about Las Vegas, and it's the second to last race, Dad.
Yeah, so Las Vegas is a 4-lane speedway, but this last race is only drawing 1 to 2 lanes. So we're back to that. And I don't know what the temperature is going to be like out of Las Vegas. I know this week out in Phoenix it's like 103, 104 degrees. So if we get that during race day, that track could be very slick. Hard for those the cars to hook up because there's so little humidity out there, those things make a ton of power. And you have to manage that to get the power down, to run. So the naturally aspirated cars like the pro stocks and pro stock motorcycles, you might see some really high speeds out of there with the good air.
Well, I don't know how much more speed Gage Herrera can have in the pro stock motorcycles.
203s, everybody else just barely breaks 200.
Yeah, and I was saying everything's close. Well, his is not really close. What's the maximum you can get for winning if you had the best possible day? I forget how much it... What?
I think you can only gain 80 points.
So he basically, if he gets through a round, he's crowned the champion. Yeah. So he's got a 156-point lead unless his motorcycle the next 2 weeks just completely doesn't turn on. And you get points for qualifying rounds too, right? Or is it just...
Yeah, there's definitely points in qualifying. You set the fastest for each round, you get like an extra point or 2 points or something.
So he could very well just... Yeah. So, and that's really the only one. There is a fairly decent lead in pro stock. Erica's looking like she's going to come away with another championship. But that one, it's not guaranteed yet. If she goes into the lead in the last race, I'd feel more confident calling that one. She got an 85-point lead. But the 2 top ones, Top Fuel and Funny Car, especially Top Fuel, that is close. Funny Car, Matt Hagen's got the lead now over. He's got a 36-point lead over Bob Tasca. But Tasca showed that you go on a little bit of a run, you can easily take that lead, and you can see how quick it goes away too. Yeah, and he just had unfortunate luck the last race, and if you have that and Matt Hagen ends up winning the whole thing, everything changes. And Leah is the leader in Top Fuel by 4 points over Doug Coletta too. So it is getting crazy right now. So this is our second to last time for... Yeah, it's going to be interesting for sure. She's definitely invested in it. It'll be interesting to see. And this is really cool for one sport, especially for her to watch. Females don't get to race a lot, and you don't see it that often. But drag racing,
At the top of the sport, like they are in drag racing.
yeah, it's more prevalent in drag racing. We saw it with Gianna being on here. And that's one motorcycle rider you can see her definitely watching for the next foreseeable future. So that's really cool to see. And it doesn't matter you're male, female in racing, who can step on that gas better than anybody else. So
The race car doesn't know.
Yep. So kicking off once again, I don't know if we really need to go through it for pro stock motorcycles, but let's go with it anyways. Who are we picking for Las Vegas?
You get 1 or 2 on the unit. You got Gage Herrera or Matt Smith. And
Well, Eddie Krawick's actually second right now.
is he up to second?
Yeah, he just got beat by Gage, which he got smoked by Gage, and they're the same team.
Same exact thing as I don't understand, but yeah, how do you not go with Gage Herrera?
Yeah, I'm going with Gage, and I'm going to have Gage. He's going to wrap it up this weekend too.
I think so too.
Gianna's got a good chance to get top 5 in this series. If she gets a couple round wins, she's got a good shot. Obviously, she's going to jump Angie because Angie's been injured. She's out for next year. What is she staring around?
She had really big eyes.
Yeah, she gets excited talking about this stuff. Yeah, I mean, like I talked to Gianna before, it's a career year for her. It's really cool to see. Hopefully anybody can close the gap on Gage for next year. That's really what it's going to be.
And you know what? All of a sudden, he might struggle next year.
Yeah, that's the beauty of sports, or especially racing.
Motorsports.
Yep.
Whoever changes something and finds something in the off season.
Yeah. Pro stocks, like I was saying, Erica's got the lead over Greg right now. Eric again, that big win in Texas, which you were right about. See if you can go get another pick right, of course.
I flipped it. This was tough. I was thinking of Erica, and you got Dallas Glenn. Pro stock. There's a lot of good cars. Old veteran this week, Greg Anderson. He screwed up last week and had a bad light. I don't see him doing that 2 weeks in a row. I got Greg Anderson.
Goodness. She doesn't like your pick. Whoa, you swallowed something wrong? I'm picking one of the faster drivers throughout the year. Been on a little bit of a downslide, but he's got to get a win to have a chance next week. I'm going with Dallas Glenn. Moving up to the funny car. Yeah, that's really all I gotta say. It's your floor now.
Sort of like Dallas Glenn's been on a bit of a downslide. I got this guy on a downslide. I think this is a must-win for him. Ron Capps.
Yep. If he has any shot for next week, yeah. So I'm also looking at pretty much must-win as well. And if he does, there could be a 3-way car race for the championship next week. I'm going with Robert Height.
That was the other one I had kind of penciled in here.
And Top Fuel, it's such a slim lead. There's really no room for error anymore. And she is excited about this pick. So who's your pick for the Top Fuel race? Leah's got that slim lead over Doug Coletta.
Yeah, I actually think she extends the lead some on Doug Coletta. But I picked this guy has struggled all year. He has slowly been getting faster end of the year. I got Steve Torrance.
Well, when I picked Steve Torrance, he won. I'm not picking Steve Torrance. But I think this guy's got to be due for his championship run. And he's got to be tired of showing up at the end and having a slight mistake or somebody having this much of a gap on him. I'm going with Doug Coletta to take over the points lead going into the finale race.
I'd love to see Doug Coletta get one. I mean, I'd like to see Leah win one too. I mean, that's pretty awesome too. Either one of them, that's cool.
Yep. Well, I think that does it for today. She is ready to go play, and she might make an appearance on some segments moving forward. But this is kind of how we want to do things. I think it was a lot of fun to kind of go back and forth, and that makes the podcast even better instead of just talking to myself and having echoing thoughts in the back of my head like, hey, who are you doing? So this is fun. It's always fun to recap everything that's happened in motorsports. And obviously, hopefully we get some better results with some sports teams this week because the Phillies sucked and they blew it. So we're mad about that. But we're moving on to some good racing this week. If you will, go ahead and share, like, subscribe, and follow anywhere you get your social media, anywhere you get your podcasts. We're on everywhere. This is kind of what it's going to be moving forward. So drop a comment down below if you liked it. Got some questions for us. We'll try to answer it next week. If you want some more appearances from the little girl right now, let us know too. And we will be back at it next week. We'll see you then, Dad.